Hey everybody, Jokerfat here with another video, this time bringing you guys another list video because I enjoyed making my last video, which in case you didn't see it, was I ranked my favorite movies of 2013, and I enjoyed making that video so much that I decided to do another one, this time something else, and something a bit more special than just the movies I've seen this year, and that is my top 12 favorite superhero movies of all time. And just to be clear on what this entails is that these movies are all live-action theatrical releases. So, sorry, no animated movies on this list. If I included animated movies, then this would probably be like the top 20 or so, or top 25 favorite superhero movies. So I put that restriction on there, so these are just live-action theatrical releases. And yeah, let's get right into it. Same as last time, I'll be going from my least favorite of the group to my most favorite. I wouldn't say least favorite because these are all good superhero movies and definitely worth a watch if you are a fan of comic books and comic characters. So starting at number 12, we have X-Men First Class. Great movie. I'm a huge X-Men fan, in case you didn't know. The X-Men are my favorite superhero team of all time, and this movie, I felt, out of really all the X-Men films that have been made, really captured the spirit and the tone that I think the X-Men movies should have. It had its serious elements without taking itself too seriously, all against the great backdrop of the Cold War in the 1960s. And I love it when movies, like fictional movies, kind of tie in the events of the movie with the actual real-life events. In this case, it was particularly the Cuban Missile Crisis. And so that was great. I loved how they tied that in. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender did great jobs as both the younger version of Professor Xavier and of Magneto. So it was a great film. I am just a little bit biased, though. The problem that I had with it is that it was a great movie, but it was all the X-Men that I didn't really care about. And, you know, this is my favorite movie list. I'm not ranking the quality of the movie. If this was the quality of the movie, then it'd probably be quite a few ahead. But it was all the kind of, I dare say, lame X-Men. You know, like, let me think of who was all in there. Like, I honestly forget now, like Havoc and other kind of, like, B-lister X-Men, because obviously the main X-Men movies where we have Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey, Rogue, Wolverine, those are set quite a few years in the future, or in the future of the X-Men universe. They're set in like the early 2000s, about around the same time that the actual movies came out. So they obviously, those characters were off limits for making a prequel First Class movie. And so, yeah, that was a bit disappointing that we saw the X-Men that we didn't really care about, with the exception of Beast, because Beast is Beast. So, but a great movie, definitely worth it if you're worth watching if you're a fan of Marvel and the X-Men. At number 11, we have Batman Begins. Talk about a turnaround for a franchise. The Batman movies, in case you didn't know, were on a hiatus after the awful Batman and Robin in the late 90s, and so Warner Brothers was really looking for a director who had a much different vision for Batman, away from the campy goofiness of Batman and Robin, and to really do a great serious take on the character as it had been seen in the comics for years. Batman really got serious in like the mid 80s, around the time of the Tim Burton Batman movie. But it wasn't reflected in the movies by Joel Schumacher. So here we are with Batman Begins. Going into it, nobody knew what to expect from it. I certainly had no clue. I was just a kid at the time. And again, my only previous experience with Batman movies was the Burton movies and the Schumacher movies. So I had no clue what I was in for. And what I was in for is actually a really great, fantastic, realistic envisioning of the world of Batman. And so Batman Begins, fantastic movie, fantastic origin story for Batman. I really respect the fact that they didn't, just kind of jump right into the Batman universe like he's already Batman. They show you, step by step, what happened in this person's life that led them up to this point, and how he evolves throughout the movie to become Batman eventually at the kind of the midpoint of the movie. And great villains, Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, perfect casting. I mean, Liam Neeson is a fantastic actor, and he did a great performance as Ra's al Ghul. Also, the actor who plays Scarecrow did a really great job as well, even though he didn't really get as much screen time as I think he deserved, but that's another little debate for another time. But a great movie, and with an even better sequel, so hint hint. Moving on to number 10, Captain America, the First Avenger. As kind of Batman Begins was for Batman, we have Captain America, which another movie which going in I had no clue what to really expect. And going in I was kind of like, this is kind of weird. They're doing a Captain America movie that takes place in the 1940s. Obviously, I knew that he had his origin as a soldier in World War II. But I was kind of curious as why they didn't kind of already just like do that in like a flashback sequence at the beginning of the movie and bring him into the modern era. Well, I was entirely blown away with how great the movie actually turned out to be. They captured the look and feel of the 1940s perfectly, in my opinion. So I'm a sucker for period pieces. So automatically I liked it there. But then great action, great characters. Hugo Weaving as a Red Skull was a very intimidating, very cool villain. So just an all-around great movie, and just really knocked it out of the ballpark for me and got me really excited for seeing how Captain America would incorporate into the Avengers with like Tony Stark and Thor, whose movies had already been set out. So that movie, Captain America, got me really excited for what was to come in the Avengers. Moving on to number 9, Batman 1989. A great movie. It's a modern classic. It really is. Tim Burton, again, he really took a character which, nobody really knew how to do. The only previous live-action Batman movie was Batman 1966, which of course we all know is famous for, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, or the bat shark repellent. So really the pinnacle of goofiness in the Batman world. And we get Tim Burton, who at that time was still relatively inexperienced / unknown director. Previous to that, he had only done Beetlejuice. And so he is already kind of in the process of shaping his signature style. So again, another person that we didn't know how on earth they would handle Batman in his universe, especially the very controversial casting of Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman, who at the time was a well-known comedic actor. Again, Beetlejuice, he plays the goofy, crazy undead zombie, and people were thinking like, oh, that's going to be Batman? Are you kidding me? Actually, quite similar to the fan reaction now that we're getting from the casting of Ben Affleck as Batman and Superman Batman, where a lot of people were just up in arms like, oh, you can't be serious. This guy is going to play Batman. You guys can do a lot better than that. But in the movie, he completely knocked it out of the ballpark. I think that he made a better Bruce Wayne than Batman, in my opinion. Again, that's just my opinion. And there are some problems that I have with the movie, but for the most part, it really got everything right. Especially Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Psycho. That was kind of just written on the wall for casting there. So everybody was fine with that, and he did a great performance as the Joker, more of a comic accurate performance than, for instance, Heath Ledger, but still very creepy, while also kind of having a little bit of fun side in there too. My only problems with the movie is, one, you could tell that Tim Burton, he took a little bit of liberties with the Batman character. For instance, Batman actually kills people in this movie, which you might think, I don't remember him explicitly killing people in this movie. Well, if you kind of go back and watch it, there are two instances that stick out in my mind. One, a scene in the movie where Batman autopilots the Batmobile into the Axis chemical factory where Joker's producing his toxin, and it's filled with, Joker goons and everything, and he just blows it to smithereens. So yeah, he killed quite a few bad guys in that instance, and also when at the end of the movie, at the climax of the movie, where he's fighting Joker thugs in the church bell tower, and he just throws a goon down this almost bottomless pit down the bell tower. So yeah, Batman does kill people in this version, which is a bit weird because, Batman's all that, no killing, no guns rule. Yet he does it kind of frequently in this movie, and I think that this movie's problems in that aspect were only exemplified in the sequel, Batman Returns, where he's doing it quite frequently again, and also you could tell they let Burton be more Tim Burton-ish in the sequel with more of his style, which I wasn't wholly in favor of. But Batman 1989, great movie and a modern classic, like I said. Number 8, Spider-Man 2. This was, and when I was growing up, the Spider-Man movies were the biggest superhero franchise of all time. Well, that's not exactly the same nowadays. He's got a bit more competition than he was. But at the time, these were just like mind-blowing, awesome movies. Before then, nobody had really tried to do a big-budget, serious superhero movie since like the Batman movies of the 90s. But no Marvel character had gotten the same treatment yet. And Spider-Man was a really good movie, the first one, and pretty much everything that was good about that movie was made even better in Spider-Man 2, which is kind of the opposite of what I think about the Tim Burton Batman movies, where they made everything that was good about the first Spider-Man movie great in Spider-Man 2, and especially Tobey Maguire. He did a great job as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, kind of being, I like to compare Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker's, as Tobey's is more of kind of like the nerdy, kind of not so cool, but yet he still has superpowers, and Andrew Garfield's more of like the cool kind of like, just like throw off some wisecracks while you're fighting the bad guy Spider-Man. And but I still love both renditions of the character, and just all around great movie, really. That's all I have to say about it. Number 7, Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. This is a movie again where it was a sequel that was even better than the original, in my opinion. We got more. The world of Hellboy was more flushed out in this movie. We got to see more character development. More crazy-looking supernatural creatures, better story in my opinion, and just all around a really great film. And especially, if you're a fan of the Hellboy comics or just like the supernatural genre at all, then you'll find something to like in Hellboy 2. Number 6, X2 X-Men United. And now I said earlier when I talked about X-Men First Class that just from a pure quality standpoint, First Class is probably the best X-Men movie. But again, this is my favorite superhero movies list. And this movie came out when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved it. The first X-Men movie, I was still really young when that came out, so I saw it later on DVD. And then I was kind of like, I don't know, I still feel that there's a good bit of problems with the first X-Men movie, but it was better than anything that we had at the time. And X-Men 2, they took, again, I'm using this phrase quite often, but they took what worked with the original and they made it better for the sequel. So I think that the character dynamics in X-Men 2 were a lot better. Great performances all around. This casting is kind of legendary now, with Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Halle Berry as Storm. A great cast. And they all delivered great performances, especially the villain I thought was really great, who I believe the character's name was Strider, which was pretty much the person that gave Wolverine his adamantium bones. And I'm sorry, but I forget the name of the actor who played him. I know he's quite a prolific actor as well. So great performance there. And really just, my favorite X-Men movie, I must say. Just, really satisfying action, getting to see all the X-Men that you want to see, again. X-Men First Class kind of had all the lame X-Men, but for X-Men 2, I think, was the pinnacle of the original X-Men movies, which unfortunately things did not go so well in The Last Stand, which is not on this list for obvious reasons. Number 5, The Avengers. Now, the X-Men may be my personal favorite superhero team, but my personal favorite superhero team movie has to be The Avengers. Really just a great comic book movie. Well, when this movie came out last year in 2012, it seems like the superhero genre is kind of stuck in a rut now, where we feel, or they feel that they have to be like the Dark Knight trilogy and be like a very realistic kind of dry universe that somehow superheroes exist in. But the Avengers and I think the other Marvel movies before it, they knew how to create a perfect balance of retaining that realism that gets you interested in the movie, while also keeping some of the fun aspect of the movie. The characters are still snapping off one-liners in the middle of battle, and they're having a good time while they fight the good fight. And I think that's the biggest thing that the Marvel movies had going for them, is that they knew how to create that balance between comic book unrealism and Nolan-ish realism. So, The Avengers, just a great movie, great ensemble cast. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark / Iron Man stole the show, of course, as always. And great casting. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner was also fantastic. I think he's probably the best Bruce Banner that we've had in Marvel movies since Hulk came out in the early 2000s. And Tom Hiddleston, great as Loki as well. I thought that he was he was a good bit improved over his performance in Thor because of the events that happened after that movie. He was a much more kind of darker, complicated, and interesting character. And I'm very excited to see where the Avengers series of movies goes from here on out. And Marvel really, they really have their stuff together, I must say. I know I was disappointed in Iron Man 3, but as a whole, I think Marvel movies, they know what direction they want to go in, and they have everything laid out in front of them. You've probably heard, if you're a superhero fan, how they've laid out their different plans, their different phases, and we just completed Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the Avengers, going into Phase 2, which will culminate in the Avengers 2, and we're just going to keep on getting more characters with their own movies. Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man. Really, Marvel is just, they've got their A game on. So I'm very kind of cautiously excited to see how DC will tackle that and get their own cinematic universe going, because they definitely have a tall order in front of them. Anyway, that was a little bit of a soapbox there, but moving on to number 4, Iron Man, the movie that started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know it seems like forever ago it came out, but I still remember vividly seeing that movie and going, wow, this is a fantastic movie. It was a movie that got me really interested in Marvel again, since the previous year Spider-Man 3 came out, and I was like, that's not such a great movie. So my interest in Marvel kind of died off then. But then it kind of really came back resurgent after seeing Iron Man. I saw it several times in theaters. Just a fantastic movie. Talking again about flawless casting, Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Tony Stark. He did just an amazing job. Even in Iron Man 3, which I'm not so fond of, it's still a joy to see Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. He is just a perfect actor for the character. He really is. And just the movie as a whole was great. Again, striking that balance between, again, this is the same year that The Dark Knight came out, and striking that balance between Nolan realism and just fun comic book unrealism. And just great story, great characters, and I can't really think of a better way that that Marvel could have started their cinematic universe. Moving on to number 3, which is another third-party comic book movie, and that is Kick-Ass. I know, surprising, you wouldn't think that Kick-Ass is in my top 3, but it is. Really, and this is going to be kind of the counter of the last 2 movies on my list. It's a bizarre, fun, crazy movie. And really, and no surprise that The Dark Knight is going to be on this list. But even though I really love, the serious take that Nolan gave on the Batman movies and all that, bringing superheroes into the real world, you still just, sometimes you just need to have fun at the movies. And the Kick-Ass is just a fun movie to watch. And also, surprisingly, kind of more of a realistic superhero movie, since, it's a world where there's comic books, and these people read them, and they're inspired. Like, I want to become a superhero too. Just regular people wanting to just go out there and kick ass. And just a very fun movie, very action packed, not for kids at all. There's tons of gore, bad language, everything in the book. That is a movie to appall parents everywhere, but just a very fun movie. I'm definitely really want to see the sequel to Kick-Ass 2. So I need to get around to seeing that sometime. Number 2 on my list, which is actually kind of a cheat because it's actually 2 movies rolled into one, but I think I can get away with it since these are 2 movies that were filmed concurrently with each other, and that is Superman the movie and Superman 2. I know immediately as soon as I say Superman 2, people are going to ask if I'm referring to the theatrical version of the movie or the Richard Donner cut. And I honestly like both. I know that's strange. A little bit of backstory real quick for those of you who don't know is that Richard Donner was the director of Superman the movie. He did a fantastic job, a great origin story for Superman, especially like the classic ideal Superman that we all think of when we hear the word Superman. And he did a great job with that. And he was filming Superman 2 while at the same time making the first movie. At some point during the process of making Superman 2, he had a falling out with Warner Brothers. He had already completed Superman the movie, so that was all said and done. But he had a falling out with the studio, and so pretty much I'm not sure if he left or if the studio kicked him out. But there was some bad blood between them, so they replaced him with another director, Richard Lester, I believe was his name. And he had a very different kind of view on how the Superman movie should be made. But at the same time, he already had a bunch of footage and stuff from Donner's work on Superman 2 left. So he kind of just was there to kind of fill in the gaps in the movie that were not yet made. But so it still had the foundation of a great movie. They just he kind of added in some things that were a little bit dubious as to whether they were to the benefit of the movie or not. But I still think that the theatrical version of Superman 2 is a perfectly legitimate version of the movie to watch. It's still a very fun time, and I actually prefer the ending of the theatrical version of Superman 2 over the Donner Cut's ending, because the Donner Cut pretty much just recycles the ending of the first Superman movie. So both are perfectly legitimate versions of the movie, in my opinion. And you just pick whichever one's your favorite, And but like I said, the first 2 Superman movies are absolute classics. I mean, Christopher Reeve does an amazing job as Superman, the ultimate embodiment of the character. He's got the mannerisms down to the letter while also having the looks of Superman. If I'm not mistaken, he was a classically trained actor. So, we've got, they get, you'd think looking at him like, he's just like another, tough guy, but he's actually, a very well-rounded actor, and he perfectly pulled off the different, when he was playing Clark Kent, you believe like, oh yeah, this guy's just, bumbling fool from Smallville. But, when he's in the Superman suit, and he's standing there with his arms at his side, you see him and you're like, that is Superman. That is the one and only Superman. So, amazing job by Christopher Reeve. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is always a joy to watch. Terrence Stamp's Zod is very menacing, at least for the time. And nowadays he's kind of funny to watch. That's just my opinion. But both great classic movies. And number one on my list, if you've been watching this long, you guessed it, it is The Dark Knight. I love that movie with a passion. Came out in 2008. A lot of people, Batman Begins came out in 2005, 3 years earlier. And people, they're like, oh man, Batman Begins was an amazing movie, amazing reboot for the Batman franchise. I don't see how they could top this. And boy, did they deliver. Heath Ledger really, truly just makes that movie. I can't see anybody else pulling off that rendition of the Joker as well as he did. It's just, he really, an actor a very young actor, unfortunate that he passed so young in his life, who hadn't really had much of an opportunity to show all of his acting chops at that point. He'd been in a few romantic comedies, a few, one I know he was in Brokeback Mountain, for instance, and a period piece called A Knight's Tale. And so he got to show a little bit of what he was able to do, but not fully, and he really showed what he is made out of in The Dark Knight. His Joker is absolutely terrifying while also at the same time being very agreeable. And the great thing about Ledger's Joker, in my opinion, is that though he is doing these horrible, terrible things, he's killing people, he's a menace to the city of Gotham, but he gives a compelling argument to why he does those things, and you actually find yourself at moments like agreeing with him, just like, that's actually a good argument for why he's doing these things. Amazing actor. Very unfortunate they passed away before his time. It also helps that the movie The Dark Knight was partially inspired by my favorite Batman story of all time, Batman: The Long Halloween, which the movie essentially borrowed the relationship between Batman, Jim Gordon, and Harvey Dent in their fight against organized crime, and the eventual downfall of Harvey Dent as he becomes Two-Face. Tragic story, but it kind of ends on a high note, even though they kind of made that scene not so good in The Dark Knight Rises. And just an amazing movie. And the best Batman movie in my opinion, and potentially in my favorite superhero movie of all time. Obviously it's number one on the list, but potentially the greatest superhero movie that will ever be made. And just a fantastic movie, and it really I really respect it for getting really drawing attention to the superhero genre and kind of setting aside as this genre can be the superhero genre is a perfectly legitimate genre of film, and it's no laughing matter whatsoever. You can tell a perfectly realistic and compelling story using these characters that under other circumstances might seem bizarre. But while you're watching the movie, you don't once question the fact that it's about a guy who dresses up as a bat and beats up criminals. It's a perfectly realistic and serious film. And like I said, sometimes movies can take that a little bit too to the point. But The Dark Knight really just nailed it perfectly. Batman is the perfect character for that type of realism and darkness in a movie. And Christopher Nolan really just nailed it on the head with this movie. And again, very unfortunate that Heath Ledger did not live to see how successful the movie did turn out to be. And it's a shame that we lost a talent, a great talent like that so young in his life. But thank you guys for watching this. If you've stuck around through all 12 movies, all these 30 minutes, then kudos to you. I really appreciate you guys who continue to subscribe and to support this channel. I know that I've been very light on content this summer. It's just I haven't really felt the enthusiasm to do it. But I'm really getting back in the swing of things now. I feel the enthusiasm to make videos again. And it's all thanks to you guys who keep on watching this and keep on commenting and keep on liking and sharing your thoughts with me. And so tell me your top 12 or 10 superhero movies, or just your favorite superhero movie in the comment section below. I always love to hear from you guys. And thank you guys for watching. As always, this is Joker Fett signing out. Bye.